Welcome to the Equip Podcast. Here you'll find conversations from people of all different walks of life, sharing their experiences, the things the Lord has taught them, and things to equip you. Equip is based on Ephesians 4:11-13 that talks about equipping God's people for works of service so that the body of Christ may be built up. That is our goal here, to build you up and equip you through seasons of ups and downs in life. Welcome back to the Equip Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Gibson. Today, I'm joined by Dorie McLemore. Dorie is a comedian, storyteller, joy bringer, and best-selling author who believes that caffeine is keeping her alive. Isn't it keeping us all alive? I mean, really. Popcorn should have its own food group, and dry cleaning saves marriages. And that true joy comes from knowing we are worthy of God's love in the middle of all of our imperfections. Dorie was one of our speakers at Cultivate 2024, which if you missed it, you can go visit our website, greenacreswomen.org, and watch it. But welcome, Dorie.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So excited to kind of dive in and go a little bit deeper with you. So to begin, will you tell us how you became a comedian? Is this something you always wanted to do? How did that happen?
Oh, good question. It was not something I always wanted to do. I don't know that I even got to see comedy till my adulthood because I was never allowed to watch anything as a child. And, I wasn't up late enough to watch late night. So, and we didn't have YouTube. So I really didn't even know what comedy was till later in life. But it's funny because somebody asked me how did this even happen? Because my parents are not entertainers. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and then she did real estate for a while. And then my dad's an engineer. So it doesn't make sense that I would come out this way. But I thought about it, and I thought it was what was celebrated was really in our home was laughing and storytelling, and every dinner was dinner and a show. And at one point, someone would be standing telling a story or a joke or something. So that was celebrated, and my sisters and I were always doing stuff like making our own radio show on our little tape deck recorder, or we used my parents' video camera and acted out stuff with our Barbies to make little movies.
Funny.
I know we would have been either viral YouTubers, or we would have been just made fun of a lot. But we loved doing all those kinds of things. And then so I had two children when I actually ended up starting comedy. I was at a women's event, and I went up for some prayer, and I was talking to the Lord, kind of my own heart, just saying, what's next for me? What do you have for me? And I felt like his answer was kind of a reminder of somebody at one time saying I should, that they think I'd be a great speaker. And I kind of was arguing with the Lord a little bit about it. I was saying, well, God, I can't just walk up on stage. People get arrested for doing that here on earth. You have to be asked to do that. And so, I felt like the Lord just said, well, say yes. If someone asks you, say yes. And I thought, I'm off the hook. No one is going to actually randomly ask me to do that. So I said, okay, I'll do that. And then the next morning.
Oh, of course.
I know. At the same retreat, my women's ministry director came up to me and she was like, Dorie, I heard you had the ladies up laughing last night. I want you to be the entertainment speaker at our next women's conference. And I was like, I don't even know what an entertainment speaker was.
Yeah.
Who had heard of that? And so I said, I'll pray about it, which is Christian for no, really. But I forgot that quickly that I was supposed to say yes. And then on the way home, I was like, I was supposed to say yes to that. So I called her back, said, I don't know what an entertainment speaker is, but yes, I'll do it. And it wasn't till it was 6 months later that it was.
Time.
I did. Thank God.
And how old were your kids?
So my kids were young. I got pregnant with my third. So a year later. So it was 2006 was, so this was, my son was 6 years old.
Okay.
And my daughter was 3. Okay.
Yes. So really in the thick of it.
Yes. And I literally that 6 months carried around a little notepad and pen and would write stuff down that was funny to me. And I'd sometimes even wake up laughing and write stuff down in the morning. And it just got kind of downloaded something to me because I actually did 30 minutes my first time on stage.
Wow.
Which I just didn't know that was not something you do. You don't start with 30 minutes of comedy. You do 3 minutes or a minute. So it was just God, because I would have never known.
Yes.
And then it went well. because otherwise I would never have done it again if he was, he's like, had to let that
Crash and
one.
burn, yeah.
Exactly. That had to go well. And then after that, it was like word of mouth. And like, I made a cruddy website myself, and it was, I don't know how that worked, but it just, I kept going with it. And that's how it started.
So cool. Well, tell us about your relationship with the Lord when you decided to follow him and kind of how that has factored into your comedy journey.
Oh, okay. Well, I got saved when I was 6, very young. But what's funny is my aunt actually started our family heritage in the faith. She was a belly dancer, and I know, crazy story. And she was looking for an exotic name for herself. And someone told her that the Bible has a lot of exotic names in it.
It does. Let me just tell you, I've been in Chronicles lately. Lots of exotic names.
You could find a belly dancer name in there, Taylor.
Yes, you could.
If you would like.
I'm going to be looking for it tomorrow morning.
Just really look at it from a belly dancer's perspective. But she said that when she started reading the Word of God, like the words jumped off the page at her. And she was like, literally found the Lord by herself reading the Word, and then found a church and just said, I don't know what this means. Can you help me with this? But I know I need this.
Wow.
And transformation happened. My aunt ended up talking to my mom. It took her a year to convince my mom of, her newfound faith and to, just start a relationship of her own with the Lord. But as soon as she did, she had the 3 of us go to Vacation Bible School. And we got saved in Vacation Bible School, and then came home singing all the songs. And my dad kept hearing us sing these songs and talk about the Lord. And he ended up getting saved. And then we got baptized in a river. The 5 of us. I guess my little sister was very small, but we got baptized in a lake together.
That is so cool.
Yeah, so that was interesting.
I love that because I think a lot of times too, when we read the Bible, we always complain about the sections with their names. We're like, oh gosh, we got a genealogy today. And then just hearing how the Lord can use that to draw people to himself.
That is so true. I never thought about that.
Well, how has the Lord opened doors through comedy for you to share him with other people?
Well, I think that it's amazing what comedy can do with just someone's heart that might be hardened to other things or not ready to receive maybe a word or a scripture or something like that. But sometimes comedy can really break down the walls that people put up, and it can make those boundaries go away to where they can really receive something from the Lord. And so I think that especially my heart is really I love partnering with the local church. So this event is really Cultivate. It's really something that is close to my heart because it really is partnering with the local church. And I think God gave us laughter because it is something that can break down walls, and then he can make a deposit into our hearts that we may not have allowed to have happen without it. And so I think I've been able to do a lot of different women's conferences and retreats, and I travel with the Unknown Tour and Aspire Women's events. And so I'm getting to see all these women across the country that, really need the joy of the Lord in their lives. I think women especially are on the front line sometimes, we're in the trenches of life. And, the Army even sends in, comedians to some of our frontline troops. And I think it's because they need a morale boost. And so I think women in America today have a lot of even new burdens that they didn't have even years ago. And we carry a lot of just burdens, a lot of wearing different hats. And so I feel like comedy can also be considered a morale boost to the women in the churches.
Well, and I think laughing, especially laughing together with other women, is so healing.
Yes.
To just be able to, like you said, break down those barriers and just let it all go. Because when you're laughing, you're not thinking about the grocery list and your to-do list and the thing that your kid's in trouble for at school or whatever it may be. You're just enjoying a moment. And so I'm excited for that for our women. I think that's going to be really fun.
And I think it's great how even women afterwards will come up to me and they'll say, I wasn't going to even come tonight, not believe what I've been going through, or I'm in the middle of a divorce, or I've lost my husband, or things like that. And I haven't laughed since, they passed away. And it's just to be able to give them even a brief moment of just that release of laughter and connection with other women. It just, that makes me feel like, God is using that to minister to them. So I love it.
Oh, I do too. Now, you've written a devotional book, Hope Looks Good on You. Tell us about that.
Yes, thank you. So it is a women's devotional, and it's 21 days.
Okay.
Well, I read somewhere that it takes 21 days to build a habit.
I've heard that too.
Unless, you quit.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's longer than that. But 21 days is what I think that if they wake up in the morning and they read a devotional that has a funny story and then a little Bible prompt and then a journal prompt and a Bible tie-in, it kind of will help women develop a habit of hope and joy in their life to start their day that way or end their day that way. And I'm so grateful that, well, I'm not grateful for the pandemic, but I had a lot of time off. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
And I was able to, my ADD brain was able to come out with anything like this, a book and a resource for women because, I love that after an event, it's not like just a one-time thing and, and then I'm done and, I leave and I love that there is something that they can take home with them. And like maybe even a lot of people like have told me they've done it with their friends or with their mother, daughter, or sisters or something like that. And that makes me really happy that, the Lord's word goes out and, Bible says it doesn't return void. And I think that's so true. So I'm grateful that I was able to do something lasting after the event itself.
Yes. So. And I think it's cool that it starts with joy, like a little start of joy with your day.
Exactly.
I love that. Well, what is your favorite thing about being a comedian?
So I get asked this question sometimes at like a Q&A and my answer lately has been if women come up to me afterwards and say that they peed a little. Like that.
That's it. I won.
I'm like, yes, that is my favorite part.
That is hilarious.
But I mean, it's kind of a joke too. But it's just nice to hear that they really, enjoyed the time with their friends. Exactly. Let it all go. Literally. Exactly. So I think it's and then I think it's kind of what we've been talking about. Just that I do feel like it's healing to people and I don't know. God just gave us this precious gift to laugh. I think I think he obviously created it for a reason. And it's more fun to laugh than to cry or do other things. So,
well, what would one piece of advice be for living a joy-filled life?
Well, I think that there are different times in our lives that God gives us different words or different things. And lately, I feel like the Lord gave me this kind of visual of a buoy. I don't know if I don't really come into contact with a lot of buoys, but for some reason that came to my mind when during a hard time in my life. And I felt like the Lord, I was looking at it. I'm like, why is this visual of this buoy being in my head? And, when they're bopping around the ocean, they're not just obviously just out there somewhere. They're actually anchored down into the seabed. And I felt like the Lord was trying to show me, like, I can't just allow the tow to take me out to sea all the time or every crashing wave of circumstances pull me under, that to be something where, God isn't going to take away the storms in our life. He's going to, but if we are allowing ourselves to be grounded and anchored into, something that's lasting and strong, like our hope in God, that is what is going to keep us from really being affected by things like, the terrible things in our lives that happen sometimes and, or even the annoying things that happen sometimes that can steal our joy. And I think that, that's really a secret to being filled with joy, that no, it's not based on our circumstances or on feelings, or it's not just being happy, but it's something deeper that we got to just anchor ourselves deep into the seabed of our hope in the Lord.
I like that. Because we can't change our circumstances.
Right.
But we can change our attitude about them and our focus of who we're looking at in our circumstances. Are we looking at ourselves? Are we looking at other people? Or are we looking to our Savior?
Exactly.
Well, where can listeners find you if they want to hear more from you? I know we'll link our Cultivate, your Cultivate message in the show notes, but where else are you?
Well, I am on a lot of different social medias. I actually have TikTok, which my kids think it's funny, but it's Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Twitter, or not Twitter, X now.
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's
I can't keep up with it.
Dorie Comedy. It's the little at symbol.
The at symbol.
I just dated myself very badly. Dorie Comedy. That's the handle on all those, and then DorieComedy.com is my website.
Okay, perfect. And you have a couple of specials out?
Oh yes, I do. I have So I have the Dry Bar special.
Okay.
It's on Angel Studios, puts it out. It's the Dry Bar Comedy app, has it on there. Or they have a YouTube channel that has significant lengths of clips of mine and things like that on there. So there's that, and then I forgot what I was going to say other than that.
That's
I was
fine.
like, wait, that is the only.
Well, and everything's probably linked on your website.
Exactly.
So
yes. So yeah,
perfect.
we're good.
Yay.
Oh, my name is spelled out with an IE. I always say that because unfortunately Finding Nemo
ruined it for you.
I know Dorie, it's with a Y on there. And I was like, hey, you got to spell it right if you're going to use it.
Yeah.
So,
if you're going to use my name, at least get it right. That's awesome. Perfect. Well, there's 2 questions we ask all of our listeners or all of our guests. What is something you're learning and what is something you're loving?
I like that a lot. Well, my son just got married 2 weeks ago.
Fun.
I know. And this has opened a whole new chapter of our lives. And so I think I'm learning. So I'm not a change person. I don't like change, which is weird because I think my personality would be like all change is cool and all that, but it's not for me. I just love things the same. And so I am learning, though, to embrace change and to say, okay, God is going to bring new joys into our lives. We're not just losing a son here. We're definitely gaining a daughter. We're just got to see her this morning even. I just love, that our family's growing. And so I think that that's something I'm learning right now, just to really trust God, even in the middle of change, and enjoy the process and enjoy the new beginnings that it could bring too. So
I love that. And what are you loving?
I feel like I am loving something similar. It kind of is a little bit of the same answer, but I'm learning and loving that we're kind of coming on this empty nest thing in a few years here, because our youngest daughter is 16, and she's the last one at home with us, and I'm loving the side, like I'm trying not to be like so sad about it, like the change again, but I'm loving some of the things I've been able to do since, there is change, that I've been able to travel more with, doing comedy that, and just my husband and I have been able to go travel and things like that. And so I'm really loving that part of it, that it's, God is just, there's so many new things coming, and I can really enjoy that. So I'm that's how I'm looking at it.
You'll have a new relationship with your husband.
I know.
It'll be great.
More space in our house.
Yes.
And we were trying to figure out what to do with his room. I'm like, wow, this is a lot of options here. I could, take up a craft.
Sure. Have a craft room, gym, snack room.
Right. Netflix or no, I'm just kidding.
No,
We're trying to think what our hobbies could be. We're like, what hobbies?
Oh,
We need a
I'm
hobby.
the same way. And I'm like, I do need a hobby, but like what?
What? I know.
My hobby's going to be my kid. That's what's going to happen.
For a while, you will have them as very little. It's like the funnest hobbies ever.
Yeah.
But my husband's like, we could do, I said we could do pickleball, but he's like,
I've heard good things.
I have tried it, and I think I'm actually decent, but my husband has a lot of skills, and he's very athletic. No matter what sport, he's good at it. And it's so frustrating.
Don't you hate it?
And I'm not his favorite person to play with because I'm not very good. But I'm like, hey, he goes, maybe we should try something else. It's not sports related. And I was like, oh, you're saying I'm not good.
It's fine. It's fine. We'll just embrace it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna, okay.
I love it. Well, Dorie, thanks for being here today and just giving us a little peek into your life.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Equip Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to know when a new episode drops. And follow us on social media to stay connected. We're at GABC_women. See you next time.